On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1993. We're going to be taking a look at Mary Chapin Carpenter, and she's going to be performing He Thinks He'll Keep Her. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, this performance was part of a CBS special called Women of Country, and you will see some familiar faces applying some backing vocals. The names are listed at the beginning of the performance, but let's get Mary and the ladies up on screen and see how they get on. I'm just going to jump in here. As always, the link to this video is going to be in the description below, so you can watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. But it's great just to see Mary at the front of the stage playing a guitar and singing. It's definitely what I'm into when I watch a band or an artist perform. When they're out the front of the stage and they're playing an instrument as well, that's right up my street. But here with Mary, of course, she started very early on playing piano and guitar, but she's got this lineup of backing vocalists as well. I'm not sure how many guitars we have in the band. There are quite a few going on because we get some lead lines coming in that second verse. We also have lead lines towards the end of the performance, and you might hear a couple of those going off at the same time as well as rhythm. So we do have a lot of guitars kicking off here, but we get such a great full band sound. And also putting under the spotlight the fact that Mary is known as a country artist, or at least that's how she was promoted when she signed her record deal. And it's something that I think Mary herself isn't particularly happy about, or wasn't happy about being typecast or being put in that particular pigeonhole, because she's a singer-songwriter and she writes so many different types of songs. And this is one of those that might be classed as country. It certainly falls within those brackets of having a serious topic, or the lyrical content is serious, relating to a woman who is leaving her man, but then it's all in a major key and they're smiling and delivering it as if it is a happy song. So you can see it from that country perspective, but when we analyze this composition, we are straight for 4 here, time signature wise, just straightforward with our verse into our pre-chorus, And I love the way that the first time that we go through, Mary is just leading you into what you think is going to be a chorus, but then we roll around again for the start of another verse, and then we get into our pre-chorus again, into the chorus proper at that point. And the great thing that you want to look out for as well is the fact that the chorus is going to be different to the rest of the song because of the chord changes. We've got a chord change on every bar of the song, and it means that in the verse, when we then go to having 2 bars for each chord change, it's going to make it sound a little bit different, and it's going to make the chorus a little bit more exciting because there is more going on. The chord changes are happening more frequently. The other thing is Mary's accent, the way that she delivers the vocals, got that country twang to it. And also, just to explain that Mary Chapin Carpenter, she's the 5th cousin of Harry Chapin, and I have a video on Harry here somewhere on the channel if you do want to check him out independently. But this country twang means that it's always going to have that edge to it, even if people, when they do look into the chord progression and the way that it's written, might just see it as a straight up pop song or even a pop rock song. There are so many things that you could explain away as Mary's songs being in terms of genre. Mentioning the vocal delivery, of course, Mary's spot on pitch-wise throughout this whole performance, as well as all of the backing vocalists just spot on harmonizing with each other. Also splitting the melody lines so that half of them are singing the main line that Mary's singing, and then the other half then harmonizing. You get such a full sound by splitting it down the middle like that. And just to mention as well that Mary actually won 4 Grammys consecutively for the best female country vocal performance. So that's the kind of level that we're looking at. I think later on in the band we will see a lap steel guitar being played, but there isn't a pedal steel guitar, or at least not one that I spotted or can hear. And that's one thing about country music that tends to be quite prominent, is that pedal steel guitar taking over that lead element and just being slotted in between the vocal phrases. But we don't have that here. Again, something that's going to move it away from that traditional country sound is so difficult sometimes to put somebody in a pigeonhole when they're just a singer-songwriter, and the kind of songs that they write are just the songs that they write, and it's only the media really that will try and put somebody into a pigeonhole and explain away their sound, whereas sometimes you just have to accept that a singer-songwriter is just that, and any song that they come out with could potentially fit in any genre. So just to play through the chords, this is one of those songs that's great just to pick up a guitar and strum along to the chords. Even if you are learning to play, this has got quite a few straightforward shapes in there. It might become a little bit troublesome for an F sharp minor, and we do have a B minor in there as well. So you might have to get the bar chords out or play simplified versions of those chords, but we're starting in A, and this whole song's in the key of A, and pretty much that's going to be our verse, which was an A, F sharp minor, D, and then just keep turning that round. When we then get into the pre-chorus, and then we have the repeat of the verse again straight afterwards, we're going from E up to a B minor, turn that round again, E, and then we have, if we're going into the chorus, now F sharp minor again, D again, and E again. So sticking that all together, it means that the verse, we have A, go around again. I'm going to go into the pre-chorus now. And then we're into the chorus at that point. So getting into the chorus is really straightforward, just an A, E, D, E, A, E, D, E. You just want to follow that pattern. The main thing to note here is that the chord changes are now happening every single bar, which is something that I mentioned a minute ago in the analysis. So we've got this. Counting out the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like that. So as long as you're brisk with your changes, then you'll be fine. Another thing to mention is because we've got lots of guitars going on here, you'll find that they will split up the way that they're playing. You'll have one that's playing the rhythm, like that, filling in a lot of that rhythmic work in order to get it motoring along. You'll have another guitar that's more that kind of thing, just picking out single notes from the chord, and that will give it a totally different sound, so that those two guitars together aren't treading on each other's toes and playing exactly the same thing. When you've got lots of guitars, you want to have them all doing something slightly different so that it keeps it interesting and isn't just the same thing being played 3 or 4 times over. And you'll also have one guitar that might be playing some sus2s and some sus4s, hammer-ons, pull-offs, in order to fill in an extra part that the third guitar might be playing, for example, focusing more on the fills than the chord shapes. And by the way, that was just A. sus4 is when you put your third finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, so just 1 fret above your 3rd finger if you're playing the A the way that I am, and you get that sound. Take off that 3rd finger, gives you that sus2 sound. And when you put those together, you can do a hammer-on, a pull-off. I'll pull off that little finger and then you'll start to hear what's going on, like that. And then you pick the G string straight after, and you start to get that sound. And they're exactly the same principle with that 3rd finger, pulling off. And if you want to, like I'm doing, you can catch that high E string in order to fill out the sound even more. Like that. Obviously I've exaggerated it there just so you can hear it, but and you do exactly the same thing, pick that G, and then hammer on that 3rd finger. And that kind of stuff is going on all the time in this performance, but because there are so many guitars being played, it's difficult to decipher which guitar's playing what, but you can just hear these things kicking off in the background. But let's get back into the performance.
Job and not one raise in pay. Now she's in the typing pool at minimum wage. Everything runs around time, years of practice and design. Spinning punch till it shines, he thinks he'll keep her. Everything is so now, so
And there we have it. What a great live version. It's one of those songs that is just straightforward the whole time, and we don't have a bridge or middle eight in here. So it means that we do go to a slight dynamic breakdown. So it means that when those instruments drop out and we're left with just Mary's vocal, it's like the journey has stopped just momentarily, and then we pick it back up again for the chorus and we're traveling again. So we don't go off-piste anywhere with a middle eight or bridge, and it's so relevant the whole time, and it's such a great journey to be part of. Like I said, just get your guitar out and play along with this. She seems so natural on stage as well, and it's amazing to think that when she first started playing, she felt sick when she was performing in front of people for the first time. She did host an open mic night as well for a few years, but she definitely wasn't a natural at just getting up there wanting to perform. But you wouldn't think that to look at her in this performance. I do want to cover a little bit of the history, and going back to that time when she first started out. She did play guitar and piano at school. After graduating from university in 1981, she bumped into John Jennings, and John would turn into a long-time collaborator in the future and also her producer. She saw music as a hobby at this time and didn't see it as a profession, so she went off looking for a job, and she had multiple interviews, unfortunately wasn't successful in those. So she returned to music and started playing covers, and this is when John said that she should focus on playing original material rather than the covers. So she got a manager, put together a demo tape, and off the back of that demo tape and the strength of it, she ended up signing a deal with Columbia Records. In 1987, she released Hometown Girl, and this is when the record label started pushing her as a country artist, even though she wasn't sure about that. It was obvious that she had multiple influences in the writing of her music. She was influenced by the Mamas and the Papas, the Beatles, Judy Collins, so many different sounds that came together, and in 1989 is when she then released State of the Heart. In 1990, she released Shooting Straight in the Dark, and she won a Grammy for Down the Twist and Shout from that album. And in 1992, she released Come On, Come On, and that was a monster album. It went quadruple platinum. It also included the song that we've just seen, He Thinks He'll Keep Her, which went to number 2 in the country charts, a massive hit. She also had a massive hit with her cover of Passionate Kisses, and this got to number 4 in the country charts, but also was a crossover success because it got to number 57 in the mainstream charts. Also throughout the 90s, she was writing and performing for other artists as well, including Tony Rice, Joan Baez, Cyndi Lauper, Winona Judd, and she was singing, doing backing vocals for Dolly Parton, also did that with Joan Baez, who I just mentioned. She was also performing with Joan and the Indigo Girls as the Four Voices. In 1994, she released Stones in the Road, and that was another massively popular album, especially the song Shut Up and Kiss Me, that got to number 1 in the country charts. In 1996, she released A Place in the World, and that was massively popular again with the critics as well, which is something that doesn't always happen with mainstream popularity, to also get the critics on your side, but Mary certainly did with that. In 2001, she released Time, Sex, Love, and in 2004, Between Here and Gone was released, and that was one of those albums that dealt with the topic of death and September the 11th and Dave Carter as well, so it was a more somber album. In 2007, she released The Calling, and in 2010, The Age of Miracles was released, and that debuted at number 28 in the charts. She has since released 4 more albums since 2010, including in 2018, Sometimes Just the Sky, and I believe there's another album on the way that has been scheduled for August in 2020, and that's called The Dirt and the Stars. But it's great to have a look back here at Mary Flying High, just a year after that Come On album. That was just a monster hit, as I said, quadruple platinum, and here is a fantastic live performance of one of the biggest tracks from that album. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!